Hey.
Hey, well, this doesn't look like a test, does it?
How was
Hi, you guys. We're just checking our connection.
all
Right. So we're gonna start at 8 o'clock. We were supposed to be in a practice session,
right?
but what ifs?
See how life works.
You're right.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Oh,
Trying to do it on, it's not gonna come up that way. That's all right. You see me fine on the
I
phone,
see
right?
you.
Okay.
Hmm.
All
You can
right.
hear me good and
I hear you
everything.
fine. I hear you fine. I was
Okay.
gonna try to do it on my laptop, but for some reason the invite is not coming through. Let me.
Want me to? Well, I probably can't do it again.
Don't worry about it. If you see me fine, then we'll just keep it like that.
Okay. So nice to meet you.
Hi,
Hi.
friend. Hi, friend.
Yes.
Hi,
So
other
nice.
friends that's logging on, coming on.
Yes.
Listen, y'all grab your drinks. It's about to get real.
Right. I always forget my
You got some
wine.
time. You got some time. Let everybody come on in. Go get you a drink.
I'll be right
Excited?
back.
All right. All right. Hey, y'all. Hi, friends. Those of y'all that know me know that the conversation gonna get real, unfiltered. So let's see. Hold on. I'm trying to. I guess if y'all see me fine, I don't even want to mess with it. Oh, I'm getting old. I don't know how to work the laptop, and let me leave it alone. Happy Friday, everybody. Okay. Hi, Craig.
Why my wine gone?
There we go. There we go. Now this is how we have a conversation.
Yes.
How was
So,
your work week?
oh gosh, it's been so busy. Like today, work week was
Uh-huh.
busy, and then I've been up all night and all morning because I'm getting ready for this women's
All
expo.
right. You told
Uh-huh.
me about that.
Yes.
Hmm.
So I was there all day setting up my little, well, not little, my big
I was going to
exhibit.
say, don't shortcut it now.
Yeah, my exhibit. So, but it's been
It's
fantastic.
workout gear,
Yep,
right?
active wear, and I have a coffee table book and candle collection on colorism.
I love it.
Mhm.
I love it.
Mhm.
Okay.
So, what about you?
It's been a week, but this week I had a lot going on I'm big into Halloween. So I had props to put up and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm glad it's over
Hmm.
because I was, hence the hat, because your girl looks crazy.
Listen, I told you I was trying to flat out my hair,
Listen,
wasn't working out. So,
listen, yeah, I was blue yesterday and I got blue in the head. So yeah, this is
are
what we
you
getting.
are you one of those people that put up decorations, Christmas decorations when Halloween's over?
No, I'm not, because I gotta do Thanksgiving. I start my Thanksgiving stuff I put out this weekend. We'll act like that, for a week or two, and then
I
we'll
said,
get to Christmas.
it's almost eight. Everybody that's joining, you guys know I've been doing this Beyond the Bruises, Unpacking Domestic Violence,
Hmm.
and October was Domestic Violence Aware Month, but the just 1 month doesn't really cover it, and actually it's pushing me to keep doing it because other women have been reaching out. Like
Right.
I met you through a mutual friend,
Hmm.
Chris.
Chris.
Love her.
Hmm.
But other women have been reaching out, and so domestic violence don't just happen in October.
It doesn't.
So I think this will be something that I continue to do, so people can
Absolutely. Absolutely.
share, and
Hmm.
it's healing and it's giving other people voices and
Yep.
stuff like that. So to those who are just joining, this is Miss Shawn Crews.
Hi,
She
guys.
has a survivor story that is out of this world.
It
Like
is.
I couldn't believe it when she told me about it.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
and every time I do this Beyond the Bruises, I'm gonna always start with the definition of domestic violence because even when you and I talked,
Mhm.
I felt the same way. I didn't feel like a victim. I didn't feel like I
No,
was nothing's
being
happened.
abused.
You feel like you're just arguing or fighting back, but
Yeah.
You don't realize you have an abuser.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't. I did it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
domestic violence, what is it? It is a pattern of behavior in any relationship that is used to gain or maintain power and control over an intimate partner,
Mm-hmm.
such as coercion, threats, degrading, and violent behavior, including sexual violence. So that is abusive. If somebody's trying to hold power over you, maintain that power, I used to say, keep me under your thumb. That's a,
Mm-hmm.
it's abusive behavior. So Sean's story starts, and I can't wait for her to share it with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna just give you a brief overview, and you stop
Yeah.
me and correct me at any point.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
So she was 17. She
Mm-hmm.
had this attraction to a bad guy, which was a
Mm-hmm.
couple years older than her. He was a couple years older than her.
Mm-hmm. For
Eventually he went to
you.
jail.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time he was about 17, 18.
Yeah. When he went, yeah, I was probably by the time he went in 18. Yeah.
Okay. You
Mm-hmm.
were a dancer in New York.
I
You
was.
from New York.
Yep.
What part of New York?
From the Bronx.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You were a dancer in New York and you was working at the post office.
Right.
So you was getting money.
Right.
Right. 17, 18, you was getting
More,
money.
yeah, you get
Yeah.
money and you don't even know what to do with it. Yeah.
Right. So he gets out
Hmm.
and has an issue or embarrassed that his girl is the girl that's a dancer.
Right.
Right.
It had a, it didn't have, it had a different stigma at that time than it
Right.
does now. Now it's like, now I'm in Atlanta, everybody's a dancer, right?
Right. Right.
It's glorified, but back then, it wasn't. So,
Right.
hmm
So that leads us into the first physical altercation, unless you feel it's necessary to talk about any verbal that happened prior to.
well, it doesn't start off as people think, like the stereotypical mean guy. Domestic violence, more physical, it's more emotional. It's a mental thing,
Mhm.
right? Because I hate even using the word narcissism, but because it gets so overplayed and saturated. But that's the typical trait of a domestic violence abuser, right?
Mhm.
They get in your head. They make you feel like you are hurting them,
Mhm.
right? So it's almost like, okay, I went in, I did this time, I'm coming home, and now I have all these people telling me how you were a dancer and you're embarrassing me, right? So you kind of accept the verbal abuse because now you're feeling bad,
Mhm.
like, damn, I got him looking crazy out here. Maybe what I was doing, was wrong or whatever. So you begin to accept slowly the verbal
Mhm.
abuse, and then it becomes to like a normal.
Mhm.
You don't even realize how fast it becomes a normal because prior to that, if you ever asked me if I would be in that type of predicament, I would have been like, hell no.
Right.
But you don't realize it happening.
And you don't realize it when you're talking your shit back.
Right.
Like
Because
if
you
you
don't,
one of those girls who you like, who you
right.
talking to? And you giving
Because
it back, you're
you
not
don't consider
realizing what's
yourself a
happening.
victim. You don't
Right.
consider yourself, as long as I was fighting back, I didn't consider myself a victim.
Right.
And because I didn't, growing up, the stereotypical image that you saw of somebody, an abused person, was usually like a little white girl or
Little
somebody
me,
frail,
yeah.
little meek.
Hmm.
And
Right.
because that was never me or my personality, I didn't even put myself in that category.
Right.
And to me, in the Black community, we don't talk about it with that type of a stigma. We all know, like your sister, your mother, your aunt, somebody, we would all, the kitchen talk.
Right.
Oh yeah, they over there fighting, or
Right.
so and so. So you just considered it the norm,
Right.
right? So you don't put yourself like, oh, I'm a victim. I'm
You
fighting.
just fighting with you fighting with your old man.
Yeah,
Like that's just what it is.
exactly. But then it,
So,
it started getting worse. It went from the verbal to the first physical,
which was
and
what?
even the first physical. So like I said, I was dancing, but then once he came home, I tapered off because again, I didn't want it. It wasn't just the stigma of him. It was, oh shit, his friends. Somebody's gonna see me and they're gonna get back and tell him, right?
Hmm.
So one of my girlfriends, she knew that I pulled back, so she was like, oh well, can I use your outfits? If you're not gonna use them, so I'm like, yeah. So we left together, and I had a backpack, and I threw the outfits in the bag, and I was supposed to meet up with her. Well, we stopped at his aunt's house, and he said, "Oh, one of his friends asked him to drop them to the train or something. It was somewhere close." So my bag was in the trunk. Well, apparently when he dropped the friend off, he opened the trunk, the bag is there. He looked like, what's in the bag? He looked in the bag because he thought the friend that he dropped off left the bag. So now he looks in the bag, sees the bag has the clothes, assumes, oh, she's back dancing again. So when he came back to the house, I remember hearing the car. It was really loud and a loud muffler on a BMW. And I just heard it like speed, like skirting, and door slam. Ran up the stairs, and he walked in the door, and without saying, it was just like, bah, caught me right off guard.
Mm.
And I'm sitting there. I remember going like falling back and grabbing my face, like, what the hell was that? And then he started saying, "You back dancing again?" Da 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 da. So automatically, instead of me, I'm trying to explain, but in the same time, I'm sitting here like, "Oh shoot, that's my fault because I left the bag, and now he's gonna automatically think that I'm dancing." You know what I
Right,
mean? You do a mind
right,
game to take on
right,
that fault.
right. And at this point, how long had y'all been together to the first hit?
I would say so. The first year, well, I think he did like a 6 to 9 month bid, so that we don't count. So I would say about 2 years.
2 years before
Two,
he
two and a
actually
half years.
disappeared.
Yeah,
And
two,
then at that
2.5 years.
point, sometimes you in it,
You know
you
what?
know?
It's weird because at that point, even as young as I was, I had this thing like I felt like I was vested. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I talked to myself in this weird, I don't know, you're young and you're goofy. And I remember saying, like, well, I don't want to start
Right,
over and have to start over with somebody else and meet somebody. It was so stupid, but
right,
I went into it and
right,
I stayed into it. And then for every little thing, you kind of made it make sense. Oh, well, for every bad time, he did six other good things, right?
right.
And then he was a giver. He was definitely a giver. So, he was a hustle man at that time. He sold his shit. So gifts didn't, it wasn't a lack of
Hmm.
gifts, right? So I call them now, they're painkillers, basically. So I may punch you in the eye, but yeah, you got this chain. Or do this, here's a car. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So you kind of weigh and balance like what's good and what's acceptable. And then you begin
Right.
to accept it. Then it becomes the norm.
So that became your norm, and
Mhm.
then you just said you didn't want to start over. And we talked earlier how you said you didn't feel like a victim. You just felt like you were
That it was
fighting. So
normal.
right.
Hmm.
So as it kept going, then the beatings got worse.
They got
And did
worse. Yeah,
you ever
they
go
got
to the
worse.
hospital?
I did. My daughter's right before she was supposed to have a second birthday party. And I don't even remember what the fight was. It was something stupid. I know at that time he was like stressed out about, I think he had just lost his job or something, but it was something. It was always something.
Right.
And you walked around to the point of I don't want to trigger him. You know what I mean? As long as we kept it cool and didn't get in an argument, you don't want to trigger, right? And whatever the argument, I remember he punched me and my lip, he bust my lip to the point I had to get stitches from
Mm.
one side of my lip all the way into the back. And even then, when I got there, at that point when they would bring you to the ER, they seen something like that. They wanted to know the reason and who did it. I would make up and concoct these stories that in my head they didn't even sound truthful to myself, but I
Right.
expected other people to believe them. But it became a routine.
Hmm.
He would do it, I would cover it up because it's almost like, well, I don't want people to get mad at him.
Right. You do
You
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 protect
become a
them.
protector.
Do you think you protect them because you're not ready to leave? Because I feel like this. In my situations, early on, well, first of all, I didn't feel like a victim because,
Hmm.
like I said, I was talking my
Yep,
trash back. But I felt like if why get everybody emotions involved and stirred up, and I ain't going nowhere.
that part,
So,
that
so
part,
I'm not gonna do that. Like
that
when
part.
my family knows when I start singing like a
Hmm.
canary, I'm out of
Yeah,
there.
but
Like they
see
already
that
know it's over. So as long as I'm quiet
yeah,
about it, I'm just chilling. But
you're
when I
not gonna
start
hear.
telling you, it's over with.
The
Mhm.
crazy thing is that so because we were in an area where a lot of his family knew what was going on. We had family that knew what was going on. I hid it from mine because I knew I wasn't going to leave. And I never wanted to be that girl that, oh yeah, she talking all of that and she went right back to him.
Right.
So I was real protective, real private of my business. So girl, it got to the point, I don't care what makeup line it was. I knew exactly what shade would go perfect. and blend it in and go right back to work.
One thing I do want to make sure we make a point of, because you know a lot of times we talk about like fatherless girls and how a lot of times when your dad's not around,
Hmm.
you get involved in this, and that wasn't your
That wasn't my
situation.
case. No, I grew up both of my parents in the home.
Hmm.
You know, my thing was we grew up middle class family. I was seeking something. I don't know what it was, but it was like the hood bad boy attracted me. It attracted me. At one point, shit, he tried to break it off with me in the beginning. And because my mom was so involved and like, nope, you need to bring her home at such and such time. And I was like, no, no, no. I was attracted to it. So,
Right,
at that age, no matter if a parent tells you no, you're going to find a way.
right,
So it was like, yeah, that wasn't the situation for me that I was lacking the dad. We grew up with our dad,
right.
but it was just I was seeking that bad boy thing, and I knew he was the neighborhood bad boy, right? I knew that there was dudes and that was scared of him.
I just
I would hear.
want to take a pause real quick. I
Hmm.
see a lot of people getting on, and just to update them, this is Shawn
Hmm.
Crews. I thought I was in a practice session
Hmm.
and I wasn't, so it went live, so I didn't stop it. So normally I have the title that say Beyond the Bruises. So this is Shawn Crews, and she has an amazing story that we getting into. So we just
Hmm.
getting the background history so you can understand who she is, where she came from, and how did she get
Hmm.
here. So you just said too that you wasn't trying to, you wanted to protect him. So with that, you didn't ever have a restraining order, correct?
No, never,
Hey,
never.
Elijah. Yeah, never, no restraining order. Okay,
Mm-mm.
so you have two kids from him,
I do.
right?
Hmm.
So your daughter is the oldest, and
My
then your
daughter's the
son.
oldest, and then
Okay.
my son. They're 13 years
Okay.
apart. Hmm.
Was there ever a time during the abuse that you felt guilty for what your children was experiencing
Oh
because you
yeah.
were staying?
Oh yeah. Absolutely. So right before I left, my son was 4. Well, he was 3.5, 4.
Hmm.
And at this point, I had made up my mind. It's like you can go through a lot. I always tell people you can never tell a woman when it's time or enough is enough. She has to mentally be ready to leave. And I'm big on, people at that point, people knew of what was going on, but you can't, people can have their opinions. People can say, oh, you need to do this, you got to go. But unless you're willing to say, you know what, I got a place for you to stay, I got a place for you and your kids to go to, it's just words. Because mentally in our mind, we're lining things up, but we're scared to leave. So unless we know that we're going from what we have, that stability, what we created, we think is a stability, to go into another, they're not going to leave. You have to be ready.
Right.
And it was the stupidest. Like we had an argument at one point. He had bought a house, and they're giving you your credit cards and all of this. And he bought a bunch of stuff and ran up credit card debt that he couldn't afford. So he bought a truck, which ended up getting repoed. And then at that time, I said, you know what? I need a car. I'll go get the truck. I could afford the payments. I'll get the truck. But he was the type of person that, yeah, I'm going to give you stuff, but I'm going to take it back when I
Yeah.
get this, right? So this particular time, he said, well, you know what? He would take the truck without asking me. And he felt that, well, technically, it's still in my name. You making the payments, but it's still in my name. You
Hmm.
don't own shit. And we got into it, and he said, it was like that simple. I gave you everything you have. If you walked out of here today, you wouldn't have shit on your back. And as pissed, I remember sitting back, and I was like, I can't even argue that. He's right. He's right. I don't have everything in here was his name. The jewelry, the cars, the house, everything was in his name. And I remember at that it was like an aha moment. And I gave him the keys to that truck, and I decided at that point I'm done. Like I'm done. Me and the kids were leaving. So at first he had heard me say, or we would go without speaking. So he didn't take me leaving, saying I was leaving serious. And so he started seeing I came to Atlanta. I got did the interview, got the job. When I came back, I gave notice. So now you see me packing up. And one particular day, he was just like, you know what? You're going to pack up. Don't leave shit. Just get out now. And the kids were there. And he started taking like all my jewelry, everything that he'd given, and throwing it out the window. So my daughter ran up the stairs because now she's like, what the hell is all of this commotion? And then here comes my son. And at the time I saw her, he was like 3.5, 4. and he swung on me in front of the kids. And at that point, they jumped him. Like we literally jumped him. And my son was like 3.5. You know the little skinny vases you get a stem flower. That baby picked it up and he swinging. He popping him in the head with it. And I laugh about it later, like, yo, we really jumped this dude.
Yeah.
But my daughter jumped on him, and for a second, like his reflex, he grabbed her, and I saw in my head, okay, he can do what he does it to me. He's gonna do it to her.
Right.
But he never hit her. But it was just that image.
Mm.
And she got so upset. And by me seeing that these two kids now were put in a place to have to defend me, the mind fuck that does to a mother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was like, you know what? There's no turning
Right.
back. You know, you can fight in private and do all of that. The kids would hear you arguing, but to
Right.
now visually have them see you and see
Mm-hmm.
that this man is going to put his hands and now we have to jump in the defense. I never wanted it. You know, we don't realize sometimes things when we're in the moment, but
Mm.
when I look back at it mentally, so my grandmother was killed by domestic violence. It was a whole, yeah. And my mom was the one that had to defend her. She went by her stepfather, and it was like that flash. I never wanted my kids to have to do that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna fast forward to because I know you attempted to move to Atlanta one time.
Mm-hmm.
He
They
canceled your
canceled.
moving truck and all
Mm-hmm.
that old stuff.
Well, we
So
still did it. It was that
it was
time.
still that time.
It was
Okay,
that time. We were supposed
okay.
to leave. Yep, we
So
was
you moved
leaving
to Atlanta August 2012.
August 2013.
Oh, August
Mm-hmm.
2013.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you moved to Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
You get your life
Yep.
situated. You start to date,
Mm-hmm.
right? So November he pops up at your house with a gun the
The
first
first
time,
time.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into
So,
that. So
okay.
so you guys listen to this
Yeah.
timeline. So, this is like
So,
the first pop up. He's coming from New York,
mm-hmm.
driving
Mm-hmm.
from New York
Mm-hmm.
to Atlanta.
Yeah. So I came down Atlanta. Um, what he did is on our way to Atlanta, the day we were leaving, he canceled the moving truck. So him doing a little spiteful shit, he thought that we weren't going to still leave. I literally packed up enough crates in my car to see over my son's car seat and room for my daughter. So we basically came down with the clothes on our back. And at that time, that's when Rent-A-Center and all of that was big. I was like, fuck it, we'll rent something. We'll start over.
Right.
So we came to the apartment. He never had my address at that time. So that was in August. So now November, he calls and he says, "Hey, I got an interview at what was it? I forget the military base, but he was like, I got an interview down there, that in the CDC." And I said, "What you got to interview?" He said, "Well, if you're gonna have the kids down there, we got to come to a compromise. So I'm gonna look for a job that way and maybe move." And I'm sitting there like, what the fuck? I'm moving away. So he says, "Well, since I'm coming down that way, I'll pay for a truck." Now I feel bad that I stopped your stuff. I'm gonna pay for a truck and have the kids' furniture. So now he has the address,
Mm.
right? So he pops up at the house and he did his interview and he was supposed to be leaving. "Oh, I just want to see the kids." Okay. So I was on call. I come home and it was just like, it went from him seeing the kids to like a nonstop arguing. We literally argued from 7 p.m.
Mm.
to about 3:34 in that morning,
Well, I
straight.
just
No,
want to make a note of this. When you say you were on call, you working in the
I work in the
hospital
hospital
as a
and I was on call
as a in the old
as a
operating
surgical
room.
tech. I'm in the
Okay.
operating room.
So that's
So,
important. So
mm-hmm.
she's in the OR. When you
Yep.
work in the OR, you can't just always jump and leave and do
Right.
stuff like
And
that. Okay.
so he came, I got there and I'm like, oh God, here we go. I just wanted him to see the kids and bounce.
Right.
So we're arguing nonstop. And it was just an argument of, I don't know why you're doing this to me. You uprooted. It went from nice to just nasty and just mean. And then, "I hate you. You're taking my kids away. Da 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 da." So enough was enough. I was, when you're just mentally exhausted. Like at that point, I left from work. Now I've been arguing with you for hours straight. So my daughter was in the room next door. And she woke up. She came in and she was over it. And
How old was she at the
she
time?
was
Okay.
16. And she said, "Daddy, enough. Like you heard her. You keep asking her the same questions. You keep asking her why she don't want to be with you. And she told you she doesn't want to be with you." And I had said it But I think him hearing it from her, it was like a snap that went off. And he said, "That's your final answer?" And I said, "What you mean?" "Yeah, I've been telling you that for hours." And he had this like bifold, like, the planners, the yearly planners you get. He had it. But in my head, when he had it in the room, I'm thinking it was, because he just went to an interview, he had all his stuff in there. And he had it sitting on his lap while we were talking. So after he said that, he takes he gets up and he unzips it, and he has a gun in there. And he puts the cartridge in, and I'm sitting there like, what? It's just like it's all going so fast. And at that time, it was a 3-bedroom apartment, but I had a bathroom in my bedroom. So when he did it and he clips it, and he was like, "That's it then. If that's it, I'm going to kill myself." And I'm sitting there like, what the fuck? So I got up, and my daughter was still in the doorway. And instead of me running, I pushed her out the door and closed the door. I said, "Go get your brother and get out." And my sister lived 5 minutes away. I said, "Take the phone, go call Nikki to come pick you up and get out. Take your brother and get out." I just wanted the kids to get out. And that was, to me, my barrier. I'm going to be the barrier between him and the kids. Because now, you hear the stories of them shooting out everything, whatever, but you're not going to get my kids.
Right.
So he went and he locked himself in the bathroom in my room. And then, even then, I was still like, oh shit, I can't let him kill himself. I can't let him do that over me, and I don't want him to do that in front of the kids. So instead of me just leaving, I'm sitting there trying to plead with him to get out the bathroom, put the gun down, don't do this, don't. And he's in there crying, and I'm trying to talk him down from killing himself. After a while, he opened the door. I was able to reach in. I grabbed the gun. The kids were already gone with my sister. And she's on the phone yelling at me, rightfully so, like, "What the hell are you doing still in there? Get out." But I still wanted to make sure he was good. Once I got the gun from him, I hid it, and then I
Mm-hmm.
left. I jumped in my car, and then I left. And I had his family, "Listen, y'all need to go to the house, go get that dude, but get him before I call the cops on him." And it was still a
Right.
protection mode. Mm-hmm.
So that was November.
Mm-hmm.
So then from December to March
Mm-hmm.
20th, he had your son,
He's
right?
he asked before he left, "Can I take him back? I knew I was destroyed over everything. I just really miss the kids. Can I take him back, because now we're approaching into Thanksgiving, Christmas break?" And I felt like he was asking me because he didn't think that I would, you know. And it was like that would be, another reason for him to stay. No, you know what? Go ahead. If that'll Go ahead and take him. If that's what makes you feel better, go ahead and take him. So he took him,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was every night. So just in order for me to say goodnight to my son, I had to talk. It would be able to start, but then the conversation always went back to us.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you got tired of the spinning wheel. So it would be nice that I would avoid calling my son just so I didn't have to speak to him.
Mm-hmm. So then he finally brings him
He
back
brings
in March.
him back. So we went back and forth,
Mm-hmm.
playing this cat and mouse game where he would say, "Okay, I'm bringing him. You can meet me halfway," and then he would never come. So it went on like that for several months, to the point that I wanted to serve him, but we didn't have a concrete address to serve him. He had decided the house we lived in, he couldn't afford it on his own, so he rented it out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, turn around, bring my son back. He wouldn't. All of a sudden, in March, now we're gonna fast forward to
So
March,
this is the time frame when the big
when
incident
the big
happened.
incident happened.
Okay.
So he when he was there in December for Christmas, before he left, I gave my son a laptop, his first little iPad little thing. And he programmed it for him while he was at the house. And you know how back then you would get your internet, your cable, your phone, everything on one system.
Mm-hmm.
He was really good with computers and stuff. And he programmed it on my son's tablet to monitor everything from my house. So he had my iCloud, he had my caller ID, he had everything. So the whole time from December to March, he was monitoring all my stuff. He could tell you who called me, what text messages,
And you
everything.
were in a relationship.
So yeah, so before I left New York, I had started seeing someone, who my now husband. But because I was leaving, I didn't really put too much stock into it, because I'm like, he's going to be in New York. I already knew I was moving to Atlanta. Um, it ended up, as us talking, he had family that lived down here already. And when he did come to visit me I want to say, I forget what month it was. He said, yo, December. He was like, I like it down here. I might move down here.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, I'm like, all right, he gonna come down here. It's a million chicks out here. We'll probably see each other, but we ended up spending every day damn near together. Like, and it's like, as a female, we're looking like, I just got out of one relationship. I don't want to start up something new.
Right.
So at first we didn't really take it like that, just
Mm-hmm.
okay, we enjoy spending time with each other. And then it got serious to where we were together every day.
Mm-hmm.
So now, again, him monitoring everything from up there, he's seeing text messages, he's seeing call ID. Now he in his feelings because in his mind it was okay as long as it was a chance, as long as I wasn't dating anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Now I see she's in a relationship. Oh, we got an issue, Houston. We got a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So what he did is he contacted him. He contacted him and he said, well, first he sent me this long ass text message. Oh, you're a hoe, you're a slut. Like, you would think that I was still
Right.
with him at that point. And I'm looking, I read it, came through, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, I'm not even going to respond, like, whatever. And then the next morning, I went to work, and my boyfriend says, you know what? That dude called me. I said, what do you mean? He called him and was like, listen, I'm going to need for you to step away so I can get my family back in order. So he was like, what? Like, bro, first of all, but see, my husband, like, he's a big dude, but he's very mild mannered, very calm. Like, it takes a lot to rile him up. Whereas my ex, he was looking for a reason. He wanted him
Mm-hmm.
to like snap or clap back so that way he can be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Now I got a reason to buck off on him. But it wasn't that way. My husband actually was trying to say to him, listen, dude, I've been there before in a relationship that didn't work out. Just move on. And he said, but if she asked me to step away, I'll step away. But
Mm-hmm.
that I'm not, you can't come up here and
You
ask
ain't
me.
gonna make me step
Right. You
away.
ain't gonna make
Right.
me stay. And I think it fucked him up of why this dude so calm? But then two is like he was so used to being that dude, that scary dude. Like, what? This dude, he not going
And
nowhere?
let's put like some little context
Mm-hmm.
to it because you dated him from 17 to 32, correct? So
Yeah,
he's been the
he's been
only
there.
one
He's been there.
for
That's
years.
it. So
Right.
now,
Mm-hmm.
and that was his thing. In the text message, it was basically like, you're not going to embarrass me.
Right.
You're not going to, I mean, and he had other baby mothers. He, was, at that time, I think it was four of us.
Oh my God.
So, yeah. But so it was like, but you're not going to have two kids by me and think you're moving on.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to do that. So with him, it was about ego.
Mm-hmm.
And not to mention that I know it was ego, but it was also insecurity because
Yeah.
he wasn't in shape. And then he see what this one looked like. He's like, oh, wait a minute. She thinks she upgraded? No, not on my watch. Not on my watch. We're not gonna do that, sis. You gonna break. We gonna end that.
So
So
he monitoring
yeah.
you, stirs him up. He sends you a crazy text
hmm
message, and then he comes to Atlanta.
So that was on a Wednesday when he sent the
Mm-hmm.
message, and then when he called my husband, my boyfriend at the time, and I said to him then, I said, you know what? He gonna come down here. He said, you think so? I said, he gonna come down here. And that was literally a Wednesday. So now let's go to that Friday. I'm at work. And in the morning, my daughter called me and she said, Ma, I got a crazy toothache. Do you mind if I stay home from school? So I was like, you know what? It's Friday. Go ahead back in the house. She was waiting at the bus. I was like, go ahead back in the house. I'll call you when I'm on my break. And 12 o'clock, like clock, my phone just kept going off in my pocket, but I'm scrubbed. I'm in surgery.
So
So I
that
said to
means, y'all, she's sterile.
I'm
So if you're
sterile.
in
Can't touch
surgery, you
anything,
can't just
can't touch
reach
my
in your
phone.
pocket and touch your
Right.
phone. Right.
So it had been going on for like about half an hour. So finally I said to somebody, listen, this got to be important. Can you either get somebody to scrub me out so I can get this phone call? So I look and it's my daughter all up and down. So I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I call and she's like, Ma, oh my God, you're not going to believe this. I said, what happened? She says, you're never going to believe who's here. And I said, who? She said, Daddy just showed up here with Maddie. And I said, okay. She
Your
said,
son.
my son.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, yeah, he just walked in. And I said, what you mean? She said, I'm so sorry. I didn't lock the door when I came in from the bus stop. And I just laid on the couch and he opened the door with the baby. Here, I'm home. And she was like, but he's talking crazy, Mom. I said, what do you mean? She was like, yeah, he just keeps saying, oh, because she said to him, Daddy, what are you doing here? I didn't know you. What are you doing? He was like, what do you mean? What am I doing here? I'm supposed to be here. And he said, if I'm not happy, nobody's going to be happy. And she called one of my sisters, and she was like, she wanted her to listen. She put the phone down, and she wanted her to hear what he's saying. He just was walking around, she said, just walking around the apartment, just ranting. Yeah, she thinks she's gonna mess up the family, and we not. If I'm not happy, nobody gonna be happy. The whole family not gonna be happy. My daughter at that time, she was 16, about to be 17. She's like, you know, I always say she saw this, but he was very much an active dad, you know, very much. She was a daddy's girl. So she's watching him, but she's watching him like, damn, maybe if mommy just let the family be, would she give him a chance? So she's like crossing, but at the same time, she's seeing this snap of who the hell is this man this is not who I know. So that she was smart enough to call my sisters and call like something's not right. So my sister calls me at work, and my sister said, listen, I've been listening to him talking, and he didn't even realize I was on the phone. She says, do me a favor. When you leave work, do not go home without the police. And she's one of them that never really got like riled up like that. You could tell in her voice she was scared. So I said, you know what? All right, don't worry. I'm going to call them. So the hospital I was at, it was maybe literally 7 minutes from the house. So I called the police, told them what was going on. And the lady, she put me on hold. So I was like, oh, this is bullshit. So I hung up. I called my daughter back and I said, listen, I got a plan. Go take your brother, walk to the dumpster, act like you're taking help. You need help with him taking the garbage, and I'm gonna meet you guys at the dumpster. And so she was like deathly scared. She was like, Mom, we can't. He's following us. He's gonna follow us. I said, just do what I said. Have your bag, get your brother a little garbage bag, let him take the bathroom. Y'all go. I'll be there. So they did that. I got to the garbage can. I snatched him up. So when we got in the car, I drove to a parking lot that was in front of the complex. And I said, listen, let me call the police. I called them. They showed up. So 2 squad cars showed up at that time. And I'm telling them, listen, this is what the situation is. They don't take Black women serious when we are in those situations. And I could tell one was listening, but not. And the other one said, well, you know what? I'm going to go over to the house. I said, listen, he's in my house right now. He's like, all right, let me go over there. He went over there, and then he drove back to me and the other officer. And he says, I got to speak to him. He's standing out there. Why don't you come around so we can have a conversation? And at that point, I'm like, a conversation? What is this? It's my
He's
house.
in your house, right?
It shouldn't be a conversation. He wasn't invited. He doesn't live down here. What are we talking about? So of course now I'm getting pissed off. So now when we get around, the way he was talking, he has such a split personality. He was manipulating the situation to make it seem like, well, officer, all I did was bring my son back. I brought my son back. I don't know why she's doing all of this, why she called. Nigga, because you're not supposed to be here. you know? So they're looking at me, and they're like, I was just, blowing up. And when you get so upset, and part of me is that Bronx, New York. So I start with this, and I'm getting upset to try to get my point across. And one of the officers looked at me. He says, I need you to calm down. You're putting on a show for your neighbors right now. And I said, what? I need you to listen to me. So at that point, I remember shaking, and I took out my phone and I found the messages, because he had left voice messages cursing me out. I was going all crazy about what I'm going to do and all. So I just started playing it. And when I started playing it, the officer looked and was like, hold up, this is a different person than what I'm listening to.
Right.
So then at that point, then it's like, okay, now we're going to take her serious. But you're telling me, okay, well, I need you to go and maybe file a police report. Bro, what are you talking about? It's 4:30 on a Friday. Where am I going? Like, I need you to do your job. So because I remember saying to my son, well, I said, he needs to go. So they said, well, where's the car at? How did you get here? And he said, you know what? Yeah, somebody dropped me off. And I knew it wasn't right, but I didn't see his truck. So I asked my son, I said, where's the car? Where did you and daddy park? And he said, oh, we parked down there. So he had parked on the opposite side of the complex. So I said, so there goes his truck right there. But he had it locked. So they couldn't. I know him. So I know he had guns. I know he had a gun on him. But because it was locked, they couldn't do anything. They didn't see it in view. So I said, listen, y'all ain't doing shit for me. All I need y'all to do is stay here. I'm gonna go pack a bag. And the maintenance man walked. I said, I need you to change my locks. He did that. Called my girlfriend, and she lived in Lawrenceville. And I said, listen, me and the kids, can we come and stay? And she's like, yeah, no problem. Come out here. So I said to the officers, y'all just stay here while I pack a bag, because unless y'all gonna follow him back to New York, I'm not waiting for y'all to leave and him to turn back around. I'm leaving. So we packed a bag, we left. I actually took my kids to my sister's, who my sister lived, like I said, 5 minutes away, and I went
Yeah.
and stayed at my girlfriend's house.
Mm-hmm.
And because I was on call as well the next morning. So I went to work. The kids were there. I felt like, okay, they're safe there. He knew where my sister lived, but didn't know which apartment. Okay. So I go out to Lawrenceville. I'm staying there. When I went to work, unbeknownst to me, I didn't know, but he had followed me. He knew the hospital. He was waiting on the parking deck, but I parked in a different parking spot. So when I came out, he had been following me. He never left. So that was that Saturday that my sister said her boyfriend came into the apartment at about maybe 2, 3 in the morning. He was in my sister's parking lot waiting. So he at least stalled him there, and she was able to get the kids out. I met up with the kids the next day because I didn't want the kids to be in the same spot. I didn't want him to have a location exactly to where we were. So I knew he didn't know my girlfriend's house in Lawrenceville. Took the kids, I went to Lawrenceville. And by that morning, he had been writing on social media. Hey, I'm hitting the road. I'm in North Carolina. I'm in South Carolina. I'm in Virginia, acting like he was leading his way back up to New York, right?
So this was
And
Sunday
this
morning.
was Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm.
So there was an app called Uvu, kind of like a Skype app,
Mm-hmm.
and my daughter had it on her laptop. And as she's at my girlfriend's house, she kept noticing, Mom, every time I log on, it keeps knocking me off. But when kids, teenagers, they talking, you're not really listening. And I'm just like, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, reboot it. I don't know. So she kept saying that the whole weekend, but we just dismissed it. That Sunday, I said to my girlfriend, I said, listen, I appreciate y'all letting me stay. Tomorrow, I'm supposed to start my new shift at work. I'm just seeing my son. Like, I hadn't got to spend time with him since he'd been back. I said, we're going to Chuck E. Cheese. Then we're going home, and we're going to start on Monday off. He's going back to daycare. So my boyfriend was at his nephew's birthday party. And I remember calling him and saying, hey, yeah, I'm taking the kids to Chuck E. Cheese, and then I'm going home. And he was like, wait for me. I'll go back with you. And I said, you know what? Nah, not yet. Because at that point, he had never met the kids. And I didn't
Mm-hmm.
want it to be that type of situation, just
Someone asked in here, what was your boyfriend? So that's good that you said
yeah,
that.
yeah, we weren't, we were dating, but I didn't want to seem with my daughter like I'm jumping out of one relationship, not when you have kids. I'm very meticulous on that. So it was just like, I'll introduce them at the proper time. And I didn't feel yet that that was the proper time.
Mm-hmm.
So when he called, I was just like, nah, you know what? We'll be okay. If he does show up, we'll call the cops. But he's showing that he's in Virginia now. So as we went to Chuck E. Cheese and we left, we get back home. And I drove around. We lived over, if anybody knows Atlanta, we lived over by Chastain Park. And I remember saying, you know what? Let me drive around. We drove around for like a good 15 minutes around the
Just to
park
check.
just to check. Like,
Right.
it's just a
I
intuition
remember
thing.
doing stuff like that.
Yeah, just to
Mm-hmm.
check. So we didn't see anything. So it was about a little after 6, and I pulled in the parking lot, didn't see anything, and our parking space was right in front of the apartment. And it was a 2-level apartment building, and I lived on the top floor. And so we pulled in. Remember I said I changed my locks that
Mm-hmm.
Friday. So we walked in, walked upstairs, and I was still on the phone with my boyfriend because he was like, just let me, I want to talk while you're walking in the house, just to make sure y'all good. So as we walked in, I'm on the phone, and I knew Friday when I left that things were a little chaotic. Like, we're snatching up stuff just to leave, but the apartment just looked in a disarray more than what I thought it should be.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like my son's Legos were like scrolled down. I'm like, damn, I know we was in a rush, but I didn't think we was that bad. So I'm telling him, yeah, it looks like somebody was here. But I'm walking. He's like, check the door, check the window. So we had a sliding glass door. So I walked. He said, check it. I went to that. It was locked. So I'm like, no, it's locked from the inside. So the apartment is like a railroad. So my daughter walked. Her bedroom was at the end, and mine was before that. And she walked to go straight into her apartment. And as she walked in, I heard her scream out, "Oh my God, Daddy, no." He had been hiding in the apartment the whole weekend. He was there. He never left. He was there the entire time. So what he was doing is all the time that he was logging on, the reason her computer kept shutting down her Uvu was because he was on her laptop.
Mm.
And every time he closed it, it would log her off. He had been sitting in my room the whole
Mm.
weekend. When he came out the room, he was dressed in all black. He had a black hoodie. He had a black bubble vest, black jeans. He looked like he was ready for war.
Yeah.
And she went in her room. When she walked by, she screamed out enough to alert me. But then she went in her room and she locked the door and she barricaded, and then he came out and just stormed down the hall at me, and he had his gun already drawn, but instead of shooting, he hit me first with it. So he pistol whipped me first, and my son was still standing at the door was still, we never locked the door, we never closed it, he was still standing at the door. So we're fighting, and your adrenaline is going, and I got enough that, like, I remember glancing over and seeing my son. He had those little, the little Spider-Man and shit, and he had that in his hand. And I remember just saying, "Oh my God, if this gun goes off, my son is right there." And I looked over and I got the adrenaline, and I was able to push him off. When I pushed him, he fell through the glass table. And that was my moment to grab my son and run. I didn't realize it then, but he had shot the first time through the window. When we made it down, so it was like 5 steps. Like, you go out the landing, 5 steps, there's another landing. By the time we got to that second landing, he was at the top of the stairs, and that's when he shot me the first time in my arm. So I literally had my son in my hand, about to swing him. He had a little, what's those little flight jackets, and I had it like by the collar, about to run him, swing him down the stairs, and he shot me in the arm. And I remember just looking, and you're in shock, but I remember seeing my arm literally, like, how like the Matrix, and it goes like that. I literally saw my hand separate, like my whole arm. But your adrenaline, you don't feel any pain. I was just in shock, like, this nigga just shot me.
Mm.
Like, you
Yeah.
really shot me. So I still was able to grab my son, and we swung down the steps. When we got outside the apartment, there was a lady, a neighbor, who, like I said, the first shot went through the window. She heard it as she was walking by. So she was standing outside, like, what the hell is going on? So when we walked out, she's standing there. And I remember saying to my son, go to the lady, go to the lady. As he went to go run, and the lady's telling him to come here, he opened the front door. I heard a boom. I turned around, and that's when he shot me in my chest. So that was enough. That shot was enough to, like, spin me. So I fell. And when I fell, I remember just like looking over at the lady and my son, and he now comes and stands over me, and he's telling my son, go to her, and I'm like, this nigga, he about to really shoot me, like,
He
you telling her to
he
take my son,
bold
like,
and crazy.
right? So I'm like, that's when it's like, holy shit, like, it's registering, like, what is going on.
And you,
And I
it's
remember,
crazy. What? Um, it's so intense. But what? It's just like you remember
oh
this being
yeah,
shot in the chest.
yeah. It's crazy. I remember everything vividly. I can remember the smell of the air. Like, it's crazy. And so when he did the first, that was the second shot, and now he stood over me, and I remember him standing there, and he just kept saying, "You see what you made me do? You see what you made me do? If you would have just let me come home, you see what you made me do?" And I remember just standing there, just like laying there, just frozen, and I didn't want to blink. It's crazy, and I tell people, like, I know it sounds crazy, but I saw. Remember, Oprah was big at that time. And I remember seeing, like, maybe 2 days before that, there was an episode on Oprah where she said, there was like showing like fight or flight type of, situations. And they was like, if you ever get kidnapped and somebody puts you in the trunk of the car, don't blink, pretend that you're dead. And that's all I kept thinking about. Like, okay, Shawn, you got to pretend that you're dead, pretend that you're dead. So I wouldn't blink. I remember saying, okay, if I don't blink, he'll think that I'm dead already and he won't shoot me again. Lies, bitch, lies. So he stood over. He kept saying, "You see what you made me do?" And then that's when he shot on this side. But this bullet, it like bounced off of the ground. Like, that one helped. Like, it went boom. And so I have the mark, but it didn't penetrate.
Mm.
Then he turned around, and I remember sitting there like, oh God, because I didn't feel pain. Like, you feel pressure. I didn't feel pain, not like people would think.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember him still talking, and then that's when he kept saying, all you had to do was let me come home. And that's when he shot me again. And then that was to the head
In the
space.
face.
So at that point, I remembered him like patting me down. I didn't know what he was doing at the time. And I remember like feeling like, like if he was grabbing me, but I didn't know what he was doing. And I remember hearing my daughter bust through the door. What happened was the neighbor downstairs, when my daughter tried to run out, she grabbed her into her apartment. But my daughter, her adrenaline, and she totally, like, she ended up getting out the lady's apartment just enough time to, when after he shot me the last time, she stood out and was like, she busted out on him. And she was like, you son of a bitch, you killed my mother. You just shot my mother. And he looked at her. He never said anything. But what he did is that when he was grabbing me, it was him taking my car keys. So he was looking for my car keys. He took my car keys to escape after he shot me. So literally, when he pulled off, my daughter said every lady in the complex came running out, and they were like getting towels, wrapping my head. At that point, I think that's, I guess, when I lost consciousness. I remember everybody talking. I remember it sounding like, when you talk under a glass or you're talking underwater. I could hear them, but I didn't feel anything. And I remember the ambulance coming. I remember the crazy thing, when the police came, I felt the boom boom from the gurney going in, and that was the first time I felt pain. Um, I just remember a lot of screaming. Turned out I coded in the ambulance. I coded 3 times. It was in the ambulance, in the ED, and then on the way in into the OR. And it's just like, by that point, they said, when the police came, the ironic part is the same officers that came to me that day, that Friday, were the first ones to respond. And when we seen the news footage and the clippings, they had the audacity to be looking out there looking sad, like they wanted to cry. Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
Because y'all know y'all didn't
You
do
allow
shit.
this to, yep.
Y'all didn't do
That's
shit,
something. Mm-hmm.
you know? And it's just.
Did you suffer any long-term
Residual.
yeah.
I had, so initially when I woke up, I couldn't see out one of my eyes. I couldn't see out of my left eye, and I couldn't walk. Initially, so I had multiple surgeries. I had to have my left lung was removed. I had a thoracotomy.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. I had my left lung removed. I had to have my both bones in my arm. So my ulna and my radius was completely shattered. So I have metal rod, and I have 2 plates and 6 screws in this arm. I have metal here in my face. So my whole face had to be, it as a
Reconstructed.
Laporte.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was a reconstruction. I had to have a total reconstruction here. Um, Thoracotomy to reconstruction. Luckily, it was crazy. When the head wound, Grady had just, like, maybe 2 days before that, got this bed that helps with like subdural hematomas. And it, like, I was out, so they had me laying on the bed and doing that whole thing before I came. When I woke up, I had a trach tube, so I couldn't talk. I had to learn to walk again just because I was laid out in the bed. Nothing that was like permanently, it was just nerve damage. But I was in the hospital from March to July. And then from that point, I had to go to rehab. You know, it was a lot because, being independent completely, to then having, okay, now you become angry. I was bitter, like just mean, because it was things like, okay, now I can't do this shit on my own.
Mm.
And I remember when I woke up, the same man that I said, no, we not really like that because, we just fresh, was sitting there by my side.
Mm.
He never left.
That's why he your
That's why
husband.
he my husband. So he never left. And I remember him saying, my
Wow.
sister had a conversation with him in the hospital, like, listen, you're not obligated to stay. Like, this was fresh. This was fresh for him. Like, you moved down here in January. This shit happens in March. You don't have any kids. We got 2 kids, you know, she got 2 kids, and now this shit happens. She's not being able to walk. You got all of this physical therapy she got to go through. I couldn't, and it was like just simple things I couldn't do. You know, I had lost 30 pounds in that time in the
I'm
hospital.
writing
So,
y'all questions down for someone said, "How's your children?" But we'll get to that in a second.
yeah.
Mhm.
So it was just a lot to have to throw onto him.
Mm.
But he was adamant, like, look, I'm not going nowhere. Like, I'm in this. And it's funny, like we joke at the same time, like, listen, dude, I took 4 shots for you. You ain't going nowhere anyway.
Right.
But it was just like, you know, from that point, he was just a strong man, was like, no, I'm good. I'm good. We got this.
So I like to get into the legal situations because of, we sometimes we you didn't get restraining orders in the past, but a lot of times
Mhm.
we feel like the system
Yeah.
fails you and it's all this stuff in place and it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, we want to respect the courts, but it
Yeah.
just sometimes seems very unfair and unjust. So
Yeah.
with your case in Fulton County, there was no such thing as attempted
There was no
murder.
such thing. So Georgia laws are crazy. They're much different from New York. No, first of all, New York's laws, gun laws, is very strict, right? Georgia, everybody got a gun, but their laws, there was nothing recognizing attempted murder, and um, they had like assault with deadly intent and all kind of other shit, but it was never attempted murder. So let me backtrack. He went on the run. So he was on the run from March when he did it. After he took my car, he got on the train, and then a family member met him and took him to another family member's house that I never even knew
Mm.
existed, right? So he hid out in Wilmington, North Carolina, until May. So it took
From
them
March to May.
from March to
He
May.
took your
He,
car though, right?
he took my car and left my car at the train station.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, and then got on the train and then had a family member pick him up. And um he had in that time, you know, people get stupid. You always let people do they'll sell themselves.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we
Give
were
them enough rope,
give
they'll
him
hang
enough rope.
themselves.
Give him
Uh-huh.
enough rope. So he got comfortable. You know, there was people that was like, yeah, they were trying to talk to him about turning himself in. And he would have his moments, they said, where he was like, yeah, you know, I gotta get in, I gotta do it, you know, worry about my kids. And then it went from they said he started setting up shop, like now you're gonna hustle in North Carolina. Now you're comfortable.
Mm.
And he turned around and he sent the email to my sister apologizing for everything that he did. And they were able to trace the IP address. But in the same week, so because he hadn't been found, he was like on America's Most Wanted,
Mm.
and they kept putting him on all these shows. So the girlfriend of the cousin that he was staying with, she picked up that phone because she seen him on the news. She didn't know why he was in the house.
Mm-hmm.
So she knew, you know, her man brought his cousin. He's staying at the house. She went and she called and said, yo, this dude is in my house.
Mm-hmm.
She had her son there. They said, we're already on the way. We got a tip already. So when they went out to Wilmington. He was coming out of the apartment, and as he was coming out, they set the dogs on his ass, and they and they caught him. And
Good.
you know, he's diabetic, so because the dogs tore him up, he was in the hospital for I think like a couple of weeks, a week or so before they extradited him back out to Georgia.
Wow.
Once we get him out here and the whole arraignment and everything, when they read the charges, I was so adamant that, like, what do you mean y'all don't recognize attempted murder?
He
That's what the hell it was.
tried to kill me.
Like,
Yes.
I'm not alive at no mercy of him. Like, that's what it is. So we had to, the DA at the time was Paul Howard, and he was like, "Listen, we can do it. We have to send away and set it as a precedent." So because he was a predicate felon in New York already, he was on his third strike anyway. We had to send away for that. We had to get all of this shit in order so that by the next time we went to court, we can present it with attempted murder. So long story short, we was able to do that. My case is the first case in Fulton County to be tried for attempted murder. And we had that plus, well, it was a total of 19 charges in all.
Wow.
19, yeah, 19 charges in all, but the attempted murder was the most prominent charge. And
Mm.
I was just very adamant to have that. I know some people might not think it's a big thing because you feel 19 charges, but to me, it meant a lot to have that,
Right.
you know. Um,
So he got
he
30 years.
got 30. So the difference with, again, Georgia law, a criminal is able to change their plea right up to the very moment of sentencing. So he played in our face a couple of times. He would say, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna plead not guilty. Then I'm gonna plead guilty. Then I'm gonna plead not guilty. Then the last, he said, I'm gonna plead guilty. And he called me. And you don't think that is recorded, you idiot, but they were recording him.
Right.
And he called me, and I remember the DA, at the assistant DA at the time, was like, anytime there's any contact, anything he saves, he sends you, save it. If he sends you anything, record it. If he calls you. So I did that, but they were already recording it. And he says, listen, we just left court, and they're trying to give me 70 years behind this shit. I mean, come on,
Oh,
you're alive. I mean, that's the rest of my fucking life, Shawn. And I'm sitting there like, nigga, I went off because I'm like, you just tried to kill me. And now you want me to have empathy for you. But see, this goes back to the mind game. You know what I mean? This goes back to now you feel sorry for me again. And I remember I went off and we laughed, with the DA laughed like, oh, I didn't even know you had that in you. I lost it because it was at that point like, how dare you? And at that point, he even said, I do feel bad. I even tried to kill myself. I just couldn't pull the trigger. What? Nigga, you had no problem pulling it 4 times on me.
pulling it for
Now you
you.
want? I'll see you in court.
Right.
You better go ahead. So he
Wow.
ended up, we got there. He said he was going to take the plea. And when we got there, he let us read, me and my daughter, read our victim's impact statement. When we read it, it sounds just how it was.
Right.
And I think he wasn't, all of a sudden it was like, oh, fuck that. I'm going to give her again. I changed my plea, not guilty. So at that point, the judge was done. She was over it. And it was a black female judge. And she was like, you know what, Mr. Terry, I'm not going to play these games with you. If you want to do this, I'm prepared. This was 4th of July. We were about to come back 4th of July weekend. And she says, you want to take this to trial? We're going to do it. I'm prepared to pull up a jury right now. If that's what you want to do, I advise you go ahead and have a conversation with your counsel. But we're not going to play this back and forth game. I think the emotional thing, the emotional damage that she knew of having us stand there in front of everybody and read our victim's impact statement, thinking that it was going to be finality to it, to then have you turn around and play in my face and say, you know what, I changed my mind.
Yeah.
That pissed her off. So once we said that, I think, my, as a mother, I knew what was at stake, that if we went to trial, as much as I knew he was going to get 70 years if we went to trial, I would have to they wanted, because my son visualized the whole thing, they wanted him to go on the stand. And I had to make the call that my son had already the emotional damage as a 4.5-year-old that I already knew he was going to have from watching and seeing this. I didn't want him to have to sit on a stand, recount it, watching this man,
Hmm.
you know? And because at the end of the day, that was still daddy. And at 4.5, he used to refer to him as good daddy was everything before that. When he would say, the
Oh,
bad Matt did that. So he had differentiation of who daddy was. It was like, good Matt did, remember when good Matt taught me how to ride a bike? But remember when bad Matt did that bad thing, mommy? So with me knowing that, I was like, it's not worth it to me.
right.
So I said, well, how much would he get if we did not go to trial? He took a plea deal. They said we would offer 35. If we go to trial, he would get 70. I had to look at like, you know what? I'll take the 30 because he's going to do 30. He'll be too old when he comes out. That was my rationale, and I'll still save my kids from the emotional trauma of having to do this. And they gave him the 30 years. And life slaps you in the
Hmm.
ass because now here we are. And I kept getting, prior they used to have an alert system where they would say, okay, the criminal is here. This is where their progress is in jail if they got moved anywhere throughout the system. And I noticed it stopped, not thinking that because it's a whole new different DA in the system, they changed everything. So I stopped getting alerts. So I went on and I see, oh, hold up. What is it? He's in a whole different jail. He's in a jail closer to where we're at. Before he was 3.5 hours away. Now he's an hour from me. what the hell is going on? You don't come to this jail until you're ready to come home.
Mm-hmm.
And when I looked it up, they had him as a prospective release date of 2026. Sip on that. Hmm. So I called the jail, I called the DA, and I'm like, listen, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I was told that here in Georgia, um, because when the jails get overcrowded or whatever the reasoning is, his parole can get moved up. What they do is they take the most prominent charge. So, like I said, out of his 19 charges, the most prominent was the attempted murder. For attempted murder, was the 20 years by itself for the attempted murder. They take a percentage of that, and that's what they have to serve. So it's a tentative date, right?
Right.
But
But still, that
but
shouldn't
still,
even be the yeah.
shouldn't even be.
Right.
And because the impression that we were under was, okay, this is a flat rate. You 30, it's 30. That's the only reason that I even took the offer, right? But
Wow.
I do plan on doing what I have to do,
That's right.
parole board and all of that. I mean, my thing is
Real
this.
quick, if anybody wanna join, ask questions, comments, concerns, encouraging words, whatever regarding this story, go ahead and request now because we'll be ending the live shortly. So if you
Yeah.
want to do that, go ahead and
Mhm.
request so I can have you in queue to go ahead. But that's
Crazy,
crazy.
right? But I mean, listen, I know it sounds crazy, but I'm very much, everything happens for a reason,
Right.
right? Everything happens the way it was supposed to happen. I am not, I'm not one of those that sit in wallow or sit in, I move on. I move on. What happened happened. I feel that it kind of did me, I know it sounds crazy, but it did me a favor. He did me a
Right.
favor. He got rid of himself for me,
Right.
you know? He got rid of himself for me because, hey, I would not been able to go and live my life as happy as I am with my husband and my kids, and we got married, and we have a beautiful
Right.
life. And with him being out, I would have never been able to, navigate through that. So
Hello,
everything happens for a
who
reason.
we have here?
Hi.
Hey, we can't see you. How you doing?
Hi.
Hey.
Hey, I didn't mean to do that. I'm so
Oh, you didn't
sorry.
mean to request?
Well,
Well,
you're
I
on.
requested, but I didn't know what it meant. So sorry for interrupting. Hey, Sean, I
Hey,
love
Jay.
you. You got me
How
over
are
here
you, honey?
crying all kinds of tears.
Oh no,
I knew
no,
you
no
had
crying.
a story,
Hmm.
but I didn't know what it was,
Yeah,
and I'm happy to hear it.
yeah.
I'm happy I know you,
Oh,
and it's such a strong story
right.
and so emotional,
Yeah.
and you were so strong for
Oh, thank
still being
you, love. Thank
doing it.
you. This is,
You're like one of the strongest people I know.
oh,
Yeah.
So this just
thank
adds to that.
yeah.
Right. It's amazing. It's
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. I mean, it could be anything, and I think that's why I don't take it like, oh, woe me. It's because I know any little bit of that could help somebody, right? In a
right.
situation. It doesn't have to be as severe as the situation that I was in, but you know, it's hope. It's always, something better. The only thing I wish that people took from my situation is to get out earlier. Notice the signs, recognize those flags,
Right.
and pay attention to them. Don't.
Someone is, oh, go ahead, go ahead. But someone is asking, did you go to therapy? Did your children go to therapy?
So my
I can't hang
son.
up this live. Can you hang up so I can add in the
Um,
next person?
I'm also don't know how to do that. So
Oh,
can you cancel me? That's why it was a mistake in the first place. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm
uh,
sorry. This is my first
Mm,
uh,
mm.
or
it should be an
just
X up
tell me.
there.
Oh, X. Okay. Uh,
So yes, my son went to therapy. My daughter's in therapy now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you can never tell anybody when they need to go and sit down and talk to somebody. They have to be ready for that. And when it first happened, my daughter was not. She didn't want any parts of that. Hi, Denisha.
Hey, baby.
So this is my friend. This is the one who I stayed with and opened her house up to me and the kids.
Oh, don't
Yes.
Sean,
start crying.
I'm
Don't do it.
so um I'm
Oh,
so proud of you. You're such a
Thank you.
strong person. I
Thank you,
love
my
you.
love. I love you too.
Um
She
I'm
went
so
through it with
happy that
me.
you're here to tell your story,
Thank you.
man.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh gosh, it was a
What do
time,
you
but
remember feeling when she came to your house?
Woo.
And then when you found
He
out
went
what
through it.
happened?
oh gosh, that was the most scariest moment. You know, that day I did not want Shawn to go home.
He
I was like,
didn't.
Shawn, let me come home with you. She said,
Yep.
no, I'm good. And
Yeah.
my daughter's mom, you know, her first instant was Shawn is dead, and like we just
Yeah.
jumped in our cars. We're about what 40
40
minutes out, and
minutes? Yeah.
just drove to be there. It was really emotional. It was
Yeah.
really emotional.
Yeah.
Shawn is the reason why I'm in Georgia.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I love you,
I
Oh,
love you
man.
too. I love you too. You know that's eternal love. I
Yeah,
love you.
love.
You
oh
know,
my
I had a
gosh.
great support system. You
Yes.
know, it's at those times, you know, my sister, she came scoop my kids up, you know, Denisha, when she was there, like she helped like my rehab, her and her mom, like helped me watching my son and help me. I mean, I was in rehab and having to walk. She remember popping the pills, getting my meds together and just
Oh,
helping me. I had a cast on one arm. So just, you know, as a surgical tech, my hands were everything.
yeah.
So you remember I couldn't move my fingers, and I thought, oh my God, I'm like my career is over, and
Yeah.
you know, it was the constant like, all right, come on, let's go, get up, you got to get up, you got to walk, because you do kind of fall into like a self pity, and then like, oh my God, what did I do? I got myself into this, and it was like you need them people to like, all right, girl, snap out,
Yeah.
snap out. So it's just like, you know, I just want women to recognize those signs. Like, don't ever let it get to the point. You know, like I said, I think watching these newer kids, these younger kids, it's almost like they think certain shit about it is cute. You know, oh, when the guys are, you know, that overbearing and over just wanting to be, you know, that possessive shit, they think it's cute. Oh, he loves me. He just
Someone
wants to
said
spend time with
that.
me.
Someone said that in the live. You guys didn't catch it because so I've been
I'm
doing
gonna
this thing called
my
Beyond the
X off to
Bruises.
give somebody else a
All
Okay.
chance. I
right.
love you.
Yeah,
Love you.
anybody
Love
else
you.
have questions or comments, go ahead and request now because we'll be ending the live soon. All you have to do is press that. Yep. So someone said that when I was talking to Shaquana, that's the one
Right.
who ended up killing her
Right.
abuser,
Right.
that sometimes girls or whatever they think is cute, like that possessive
Mhm.
nature or
He
the
only wants
jealous.
to
He don't
spend
love
time
me
with
unless
me.
he's acting like that, right?
Yeah,
So what would you say those signs are? Like I know we've talked about like rage, anger,
it's
isolation. What else do you think?
it's not just, but see, that's the thing. It doesn't just come in the negative form of rage and anger. The whole possessiveness, the whole, you know, looking and depending on you as if you're their mother. You become like, you know, thinking that you have to be, you know, taking care of them. You have to be, you know, protective of them. It's more mental than anything. Hi, V.
Hi, just wanted to say I love you, I
Aw.
love you, I love
I
you.
love you
Oh.
too.
And I'm
I love you too.
still and I'm still waiting to see my Maddie.
This is this is Denisha's mother, and when I tell you, like I said, the support system was amazing.
Oh,
You know, couldn't do it
oh,
without these people. You
yes.
know, I appreciate everything. You know,
And you
and
can feel the love these people have
yeah,
for you.
yeah,
Hmm.
I love them all back. Love you, Mama.
I love you more.
Amazing.
Okay.
You know, it's you just have to, girls just have to recognize those signs and them
Mhm.
flags. If it doesn't feel right, get the hell out.
Yeah, that's
You
all you.
know,
That's what I
just
say.
get the
That's all
hell
you need is a
out.
feeling.
And the whole, you know, my thing was when I'm watching and you hear more in the news about these younger girls and it happening to, it's always like they were 17, 18, 18,
Tell you what,
19. They
yeah,
start
Let's
they
press
start taking care of
the
these
X
kids.
in the
Press
top
the X
corner.
on the top, Mama. They start taking care of these guys to the point they're
Mhm.
like mother figures to them. That when
Yeah.
they say, "Okay, we're leaving," they can't take that. They can't take
Hmm.
that, and they would rather kill her than to have think that she's moving on to do that for somebody else. And that's what a lot of it is. It's not about there's so much love that I don't want you to leave me. It's so much my ego can't handle you going to be with somebody else and do with them the things that I feel that you've been doing to me. They don't appreciate it when you're doing it for them,
Right.
but they know what you're doing. They know your worth. They just don't want you to realize your worth. You know,
Oh
it's a
my
definite.
gosh.
It's a mind thing. You know, but
Yes.
I just wish we open it up. I just feel in the Black community, we don't discuss it.
Yeah,
And
I think
I,
these conversations are so important and to the point because it's so much shame and hiding it and protecting it
mhm,
that nobody want to talk about. Nobody
right,
want to
that
talk
nobody
about
wants to
what
talk about
happened
it.
to
And
them.
they,
So
yeah,
that's why I think,
they don't talk about
yeah,
it, and then they don't, like I said, it goes back to the stigma of what that person looks like. I didn't think I looked like somebody that was being abused.
right,
You know what I mean? But it happens to, I look like your sister, your mother, your cousin. You know what I mean? It's the everyday person.
right.
And I think when it becomes more relatable, more people will be open to discuss what's going on. Because
Yes,
I'm
and
relatable.
they don't have to be shame about it. Like
It's no shame.
that's my part of my goal.
Hmm.
Like don't be
Hmm.
shame about it because if
Hmm.
you're not shame, then you can vocalize it. You can
Yep.
call a thing a thing. You can call it
Yep.
out. You can help somebody. You can call the men out in your family
Yep.
that you know do it.
Yep.
Also, sometimes we
Absolutely.
know it's men in our family that's like this, but it's like that ain't our
That ain't our
business.
business.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
no, not having
Yeah.
it. Oh, somebody said, when is the book coming out, Sean? I know that's
Ah.
right.
You know, it's
Well,
it's weird because I started, and then something in me, I don't know, it's like I'll get to a point and then I'm just like
when
I don't
it's
know.
time, it's time.
When it's time, it's time.
You're gonna be so moved to do it. You're gonna have to
Yeah.
get it out your system, and that's
Yeah.
when you know it's gonna
Yeah.
be time.
You know, it'll come.
Yes.
It's gonna happen. It's
Well,
gonna
I
happen.
thank you so
I thank
much.
you
This was
as well.
amazing
I thank you as
conversation.
well. You
Oh,
know,
hold on. Somebody said, when did you know you were emotionally whole and healed?
who said I am? You know,
Mm.
it's a process. It's an everyday process. You know, there's days. There was like, to be completely honest, when it first happened, I didn't cry for the first year, maybe a year and a half.
Really?
I didn't cry for the first year. I
Are
cried.
you not an emotional person anyway?
I am, but I also have a tough skin. Like
Right.
I will give myself 5 minutes to cry about something, and I think it's a Virgo in me. It's like, all right, you get a moment to cry
That's
about
it.
it.
Yeah.
What's your plan? What's your
On to
plan?
the next.
On to the
Yeah.
next. So it's either
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
either a fuck it or fix it type of person.
Right.
So you either gonna sit here and wallow in it, or you're going, what's your plan B?
That's right.
So even with the situation, it was like, all right, listen, this happened. What you gonna do? Because school is starting for the kids in September. You got bills to pay. What are you gonna do with yourself?
Right.
And that's how that's even with the therapy, I had to make sure my kids were good, put myself on the back burner.
Right.
And I felt like talking and going to seminars and things like that, that helped me as much as it was helping other people. Um, but it's an everyday process. I didn't cry, like I said, for the first year. I cried in the shower on the anniversary, and it was more because of what I felt it did to my kids, not about me.
Same.
It wasn't about
I
me. I was
it
more,
hurt me what I
yeah,
feel like my daughter had to experience.
yeah,
Like, and that's the thing. Like other stuff bothered me too or whatever, but
yeah.
that's the thing that
That
is
was
just
the
like,
thing. That was the thing.
this our last caller. Hey, how you doing?
Can't see you. Hi, Keith. Hi, friend.
Hi, friend. I just want to tell you that I love you.
Love you too.
And I am so pissed that I introduced you to him.
So
Oh
yes.
God.
So this is her. So
We gonna
this
keep
is
that quiet. I need to
listen.
edit this part out.
So she. So this is Keisha.
Oh, wait, I can't see you, Sean. I can't see
I'm
you. I can't
sorry.
see neither one of y'all.
Oh, I don't know then.
We see
But
you.
this is, I see you fine. So this is Keisha. Not only was she my best friend at the time, she's a cousin.
Oh,
Yes.
And you know, we joke and laugh about it, but like, bitch, if you never took me down that fucking street, I would have, you know. But at the same time, it's just like, no matter what, she knows I was attracted to that bad boy image. There was nothing that
Man,
was gonna stop me.
so many times I said,
Yep,
Sean, don't fuck with him. He's
yep,
crazy.
yep.
I was like, leave him alone. Don't do it.
She did.
But he kept, yo, cuz, introduce me to your friend. And she's I'm
oh,
like, yo,
he's
leave her alone.
your
But
cousin
Yeah, that's her
and
cousin.
her friend.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yes.
how? Okay,
Yeah.
how are y'all cousins?
You.
Somebody said get her off of here.
No,
Ah,
no, no,
no,
no.
I love her.
No,
It's not like
Yeah.
that. Whoever made that last
Yeah,
comment,
no,
it ain't like
just
that.
not at all.
Um, me and Sean go way back to
yeah.
like,
Shit.
I mean, that's family
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
And
that
Yeah,
she
no,
was
they
there for me.
joking. They put the
Yeah,
laughing emojis. But how are y'all related?
him and her. That was what y'all on the mother side, right?
It's like on the mother side, like a cousin to a something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Sean, I'm so proud of
Love you.
you. Like I love you
I
so
know.
much. You already know.
I do.
You are like a sister to
I
me
know.
more than
I
anything.
know. I
We
know.
have so many memories. I went through this stuff
Yeah,
with you, and
she sure.
I want to say to Paul, I
Mm-hmm.
love you, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Like you took care of my friend, my sister. Like I watched you from being 30 pounds to
Yeah.
this brick house you are right now, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm just so happy. God is good.
Yep.
And like you said, we go through things
Mm-hmm.
for a
Right.
reason.
Right.
And it's still a beautiful
Mm-hmm.
thing that y'all are still together, y'all are married, y'all are happy, y'all doing y'all
Right.
thing. And I just love the way Paul love on you. I love the way I see you living. You
Right.
are definitely somebody who say, I almost lost my life and I'm going
Yeah.
out. Like
You have to
I'm
appreciate
living
it.
out
I
loud.
will say it gives you going through everything. It gives you a new lease on life. You appreciate the little things that to now to this point, my husband don't stand a chance, because it's like your tolerance level for shit is different.
Hmm.
Is
Once
your
you go through something,
husband
mhm,
Instagram Uncle Paulie?
yes.
Okay, he's requesting. So it's important to put
Oh,
him on. So you go ahead and X,
Okay.
and I'm gonna
I
let
okay.
him
love you,
close.
Sean.
I'm
Sean,
gonna
I'll
let
call
Thank
you. I love
I
you.
love
I'm
you.
Okay.
gonna let him close this thing out.
Okay.
Okay, hold
Okay.
up.
Oh Lord. Let me drink to this one. But I mean, it definitely gives you a new appreciation. Hi, Paulie.
What's up, man? What's up,
Hey,
y'all? How you
hey.
doing?
Mm-mm-mm.
You can close this out for your queen. You know what we're still, it's November 1st, but I started this for Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I think it'll just be something that continues on out of October because so many women got so many stories, and it can help so many others. So share something briefly, whatever you want to say, and we close this thing out.
I mean, I just want to say, I love you,
I
babe. You
know.
know what I'm saying? And you're so strong. And it's just we've been through a lot. You've been through a lot, and you
Yeah.
definitely the strongest person I
Yeah.
know.
No. Thank you.
And you're the strongest person I know. And I don't. I mean, I jumped into this thing feet first, and I was like, yo, like people to this day ask me, "Is like, yo, you stayed around?" I was like, yeah,
Yeah. I
like
mean,
I
you know.
couldn't leave if I wanted to,
Right.
like, you know what I'm saying? First people was like, yo, you might want to do this and do that, and you might want to go
Yeah.
chill for a little because he was on the run. I was like, I ain't going nowhere. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
not going nowhere. I was
Yeah,
like,
I think a lot
he
of
was
people
already
don't
lit,
know
so.
to the extent of like when we found out later, he tried to come for him before he came for me. And we didn't know it until when the detectives started releasing information. Before he got to my house that Friday, so Paul used to, at that time, he was a personal trainer. He knew he worked at a LA Fitness, and there was one down the street from us, but that's where we worked out. That's not where he worked, and he went there to pretend like he had my son. You saw him on the camera, and he walks into the LA Fitness. He walks to the guys to look like he's getting signing up for a membership and getting a gym tour, and you see him walking around. He was actually looking for him, and he had his Facebook profile picture up, so he was looking for the person that matched him. He was going to shoot him there in LA Fitness. So, but
Wow.
he wasn't there because he didn't work there.
Right.
And they showing him going in there. When they actually did find my car, when he parked my car, he had two guns in the car.
Uh
He,
huh.
Paul, for him to stay, knowing the situation that he was putting himself in, because he didn't have
I
to.
was
It was like,
gonna say this,
hmm
ask this though to
hmm
Paul. Was it more out of love for Sean, or you needed to protect? You felt like you just needed to protect a black woman because we always talk about
right,
that, how we are the least protected.
right.
A lot of times, what? Because what was your reason?
I mean, of course it was for the love because we had a bond by that point, and I was just like, my parents just ain't raised no punk. Bottom line, you know
Period.
what I'm saying? So, and it was, I mean, not for nothing. It was, I always in my head, I always thought like, is he gonna be me or him? Because because at that point it was like, if we see each other, there's no
Right.
talking.
Right.
And I used to pray to
Mhm.
God. I just literally pray to God, and be like, I just hope I get the drop on him
Right.
first. Like, people who know me know my background. It's like, I'm not trying to, never promote nothing or whatever. But at
Right.
the end of the day, at the time my brother was living in LA. One of my older brothers was living in LA. He wanted me to come out there. He said, "Yo, I'm gonna pay for your ticket. Come out there, just till everything blow over." Like, nah, I'm not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And my twin brother was like, "Well, listen, you need to just go and
Yeah.
Yeah.
just leave
And
for a
I
little bit."
understood that, because they didn't know me. This, like I said, this was so fresh.
Right.
They're looking
This
at
is
it.
so
We
fresh.
got to protect our brother. Like he getting
Right.
Right.
caught up in
You're
this
getting
girl and
involved.
this
Yeah. Right.
drama. Like,
Right.
yo, we got to get him
Right.
out of here.
Right.
And then he's looking at it like, listen, we started with this bond. I'm not just going to leave.
Right.
And I remember my sister and my family was looking like, all right, dude, we ain't gonna blame you if you walk
Right.
away. And he
Right.
he said, I'm not doing it.
Well, amen to that. Well, y'all are a beautiful couple. Thank you so much
Thank you.
for being part of my Beyond the Bruises. And
Appreciate you. Appreciate the platform.
absolutely. So I'm gonna save this live, and then I'll collaborate it that way. Once it posts, it'll automatically go to your page as well. Because
Right.
a few people keep asking, "Are you saving it live?" Yes,
Right.
because people need to see it and know your story. So thank
Thank
y'all. I
you.
gotta get ready for this pop up tomorrow.
Good luck.
You thank you.
Enjoy. Y'all go
Yes,
out and look for her stuff.
yes,
Promote, promote, promote.
yes,
Buy, buy,
yes.
buy. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
You guys
you.
have a good night.
Good night.
All
All
right.
Good night.
righty.
Bye
Appreciate
bye.
y'all.
Mhm.